Hello, CTS 150. This is Ashley here, and I just wanted to hop on to share a quick video to explain your weekly response for this week. So we are in week 8, and we've only got one more of these after this week. So we're really going to use this week and next week to focus. So by this point, most, if not all of you, have really done the work to find a topic and cultivate a thesis that is really appropriate for the scope of your project. Now, some of the feedback that I've been giving to people pretty consistently along the way is that in general, topics are very broad when we first arrive at them. And so I've been saying two things, that our task for this work is to, number one, narrow down our topic, which most of you have done. But our second step is to then flesh out or figure out how to really adequately support or evidence or critique or ground the topic that we've decided on. So given that most of you have done already the first part, you've narrowed down your thesis, you've narrowed down your topic, you've chosen a thesis that's thoughtful and appropriate to your scope. So now we're going to move on to that next piece, which is, I want to know what kinds of materials you're going to be using as supporting documentation. Perhaps they could be class materials. Some of you are looking at really complex systems of power and control that really directly relates to some of the materials that we were learning about today in lecture with the Deleuze and so forth. So there's a lot of really interesting material in terms of theoretical material from the course that you could ground your project in. And there are also other kinds of supporting materials that you could use outside of our class content. So that could be things like peer-reviewed articles, perhaps very contemporary tech articles from reputable sources. It could be screenshots from a game or a platform that you're talking about. So any of these things are possible. Now, the task for this week is for you all to, to send me, as part of your weekly response, below, which you'll find below, to send me an idea, just about a paragraph or so, of what kinds of sources you're going to be using. So you could talk through them in a paragraph, or you could give me a few sentences and then you could give me a works cited, something like that. But I want to get a sense of how you're going to be supporting your argument. How are you going to be sort of cultivating this critique that you're putting forward about whatever media or platform you are looking at. So again, there will be more specific directions written right below, but your task is really to give me an idea of what kind of materials you're going to be drawing into either your final paper or your final project. And again, that's really trying to move us through that second phase. Once we've narrowed down, now we want to bulk it out, flesh it out, really support. I've suggested to a number of students to really think about sort of a vignette model for their project. That could be a kind of a formal piece that you integrate into your video, but it can allow people to talk about a theme and then give examples of a few different places that we can take this theme up, right? And each of those vignettes, or case studies you could call them, needs to engage some sort of a thoughtful critique. It could be a speculative critique, you could be asking questions, but there really needs to be some content there. It can't just be like, Instagram is so wild because it gives you tailored ads. Well, that's a fair thing to say, but it's not, like a scholarly approach to critically understanding the role of media in our day-to-day lives, for example, right? So this is the task for today, and I'm very excited to see what you all have to say. And just so you know where we're headed, for next week, the task is going to be to give me some sort of a plan. So that could be like, laying out what style you're going to use in terms of filming your documentary or your final project. Is it going to be documentary style? Is it going to be an animation? Is it going to take some other form? There are lots of options here, but we really want you to be intentionally thinking about the focus, the supporting materials, and of course the form that your project is going to take. So that's why we're kind of pacing it through in this way. Okay, so I really look forward to seeing what you all do this week. Remember, next week is week 9. Which means two things. One, it means we're really close to the end of the quarter, and it's spring. So that means we're really close to the end of the academic year. And the other thing is that comes with an enormous amount of stress, even under normal conditions, and we're operating under very unusual conditions right now. So if you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, and there's any way I can be supportive in terms of sharing resources or perhaps providing an office hour to talk about any concerns you might have with the class, those things are all options to you all. So I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you're able to put some thought into this. And I look forward to connecting with you all next week in section. Again, remember, we only have 2 more section meetings, week 9 and week 10. And I will be holding office hours still throughout both of those weeks and into finals week. So just know that I will be available, but as we get closer to the end of the quarter, things get really complicated schedule-wise because a lot of folks want support during that time. So I really want to be able to support all of you, but what I'm going to ask is that you work in a little bit of advanced planning time, so that if my schedule is a day or 2 out, we're not going to be totally cramped. I don't want to leave you without the support that you need, but I also want to be able to accommodate everyone who needs support. So keep those things in mind. Happy thinking, happy brainstorming. If you're working in a group, good luck with that. And I look forward to connecting next week. All right. Thanks, folks.